Hello, I'm Shivan Sarna, and it is a thrill to have you here today. My platform is SIBO, SOS, as well as Chronic Condition Rescue. That's really the umbrella name of everything that I do. January, we are going to start talking about the New Science and Wisdom of Menopause Summit, which launches in February 2025. 60 speakers, phenomenal content. I'm super excited about that. Now, the matter at hand today is the OAT test, organic acids test, the stool test, all those functional tests that is like another language. And we need interpreters to help us. And that's where Evan Brand comes in. Evan is a hugely popular podcaster, but that's just like a side thing with millions and millions of downloads, like before anybody else was doing that. But Evan helps people, and he's what I call the third opinion guy. So you've gone to one person, maybe you've gone to 5 or 6, and then you finally find someone who's brilliant at figuring out what the heck is wrong and what to do about it. Coming from hormonal health, mold issues, environmental toxins, construction issues in your home. Lately, he's really been into sexy time and helping people with their libido, saving marriages, stuff like that. And I'm going to hand things over to him so he can talk to you about how he builds protocols based on certain functional tests. And those tests you may already have, in which case, cool, because then you're going to be able to interpret them and make your own protocols. None of this is medical advice. These are educational consults that you're receiving in these sessions. And Evan's not your practitioner, but you are going to be empowered so that, let's say you take the information and you go to a practitioner, you're going to be speaking that same language. And that's going to allow you to really speed up those the learning curve in those appointments. I think we've all been to an appointment before where you're like, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, I just got like to 3.5. Now I have to go make another appointment and then another appointment. So I love the fact that this can be great for DIYers as well as for those of you who are working with a practitioner. Okay, with that being said, Evan, hello and welcome.
Hey, Shivan, thanks for having me. I wish I had that meme. I saw a meme on Instagram a while back, and it's a little dark humor, but it is a person laying in a casket, and the doctor comes up to them at the casket and said, "Your labs look fine." And so that is, I wish I had that to pull up. I couldn't find it, but that is the reality of the conventional system. And I have many, many friends that are medical doctors that they tell me all the time, Evan, I did not learn the stuff that you're teaching in medical school. In fact, probably 20% of our students now are medical doctors that want to go functional. They did not learn about organic acids testing. They were not taught anything about mold, as maybe it causes allergies. And they were taught that antibiotics are the solution for all of your dysbiosis. And if it's not dying, hit it harder. And so, as many of you that are here know, that strategy doesn't work. And I suffered like hell for most of my life. I had terrible gut issues. I bounced around from doctor to doctor. I had depression issues. I had panic attacks. I remember a decade ago, I was, we were back in Austin, my wife and I. This was pre-kids when life was easier. And I had a panic attack for basically no reason. I later learned that mold and gut infections, parasites, H. pylori, all these infections can ramp up your nervous system to where you're stuck in fight or flight, even if everything externally is okay. And so a lot of these chronic health conditions, mood problems, people think of it as psychological. They think, I'm stressed because, I'm anxious because, and it's all external. Husband's job this, stuck at home with the kids that, right? It's all lifestyle based. And the reality is your life could be perfectly set up. You could have a nanny and 20 babysitters and a cleaning person and a personal chef and still be anxious if there's internal dysfunction happening. So what I'm going to teach you about today is exactly what I'm doing behind the scenes clinically. I've seen over 3,000 clients in the last decade, and I look at labs all day, every day. I'm in the top 10 worldwide for running the most organic acids test according to the manufacturer of the test. They told me, hey, you're top 10. So I don't say that to toot my horn. I just say that to say I've seen a lot of data, and usually people have been to 5, 10, 20 other practitioners before they see me. They've likely had some of these tests that we're going to look at today done already. However, they likely did not get the proper interpretation, or they got no interpretation at all. The doctor or whoever found the issue and goes, yeah, I don't know what to do with it. And then they bring it to me later. And then because I suffered for so long, I was able to fix myself, and so now I help fix others. And so I'm pumped to be with you all. I appreciate you coming in and hanging out with us on a Thursday. Beautiful day here. So I'm feeling good. So let's do it. So this is how to fix your gut for good. I'm going to teach you guys about anxiety, depression, chronic fatigue, low libido, skin issues, weight problems, and more. I could really list like 50 symptoms that I can help you with, but we'll just keep it to those because those are the most common. Now, in terms of credentials, I'm board certified in holistic nutrition. I'm an FNTP, and I run a ton of labs. And I need to update these numbers, but it's 30 million plus on the podcast. It's called the Evan Brand Show. So if you'd like free content, check it out. Here it is. I've interviewed Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. Neil Nathan, Dr. Jack Wolfson, Dr. Margaret Christensen, this guy down here on the bottom right, Pierre Corey. He is amazing. If you get one thing out of today's podcast or webinar, please check out the interviews with Pierre Corey so you can learn about the virus. You know what I'm talking about. So what I learned by interacting with a lot of people in the health space is that I can take all my work that I'm doing clinically and put that into a video-based program, which I'll show you a little bit later. And this is a professional yoga course educator. I had personal interest in functional medicine just to try to help my grandpa too, because I grew up with him. I remember him picking me up from school and taking me to my baseball games, and he's amazing. He's still alive. He's still with us. And I was able to help him significantly by using these functional medicine strategies about a decade ago is when we took that picture. And I've built several homes. I've renovated homes. I've had mold exposure. I've had to help mitigate other people's homes. And so I've learned about the home gut connection, meaning how your microbiome of your home can actually affect your gut and your children's health as well. This is massive for infertility. I work with a lot of infertility cases as well, and it's usually all environmental based. And I created a whole course about home protocols that we'll talk about later. Okay, so we're going to get a little geeky, so just hang tight with me. If you have some emotional stress right now and you feel like you're distracted and you can't focus, let's just do a little tapping together. You could tap on your clavicle with me. This is emotional freedom technique, or EFT for short. It's one of the best strategies you can do to help reset your nervous system. It's a whole thing. You could do the whole thing, but just the clavicle's quick and easy. And you could go, even though I'm overwhelmed by Evan about to drop these knowledge bombs on me, I love and accept myself. Or whatever affirmation you want. I feel stressed. I feel anxious. I feel tired. I feel in pain. Whatever that is, I love and accept myself while you're tapping the clavicle. And you can feel it. Okay. So there's many, many studies on mold toxin in the literature and about how it affects every single body system, your brain, your liver, your kidneys, your adrenals, for females, your ovaries, your thyroid, your microbiome. It's pretty crazy. Now, I won't bore you with reading all these studies to you, but what you need to know is that this is an epidemic problem. It's not rare at all, and it's significantly affecting your gut and your immune function and your overall health, including the health of your kidneys. Meaning if you're up in the middle of the night to go pee, you have symptoms like chronic fatigue, anxiety, depression, it could be related to things like this called zearalenone. This is a mycotoxin that's very common in water damaged buildings, and it's highly estrogenic. So ladies, if you're having issues with PMS, perimenopause, menopausal symptoms, hot flashes, you think are hormone related, could be mold related. Okay, that is the takeaway from this. Now, these mycotoxins you get exposed to when you're in a water damaged building or even as a kid. Okay, remember this exposure doesn't have to be current day. If you grew up in hanging out in your grandma's house like I did, her basement flooded when I was a kid, it took 2 weeks for her to dry that basement out. She just put a bunch of box fans on it and dried it out. And we know now that mold can form within 48 hours of a water leak. She had that old school 1970s wood paneling on the walls. She had carpet down in that basement. So I got exposed to this stuff as a kid, which is why I had so many gut and mood issues in my teenage years. And now that I know how quickly mold can grow, I try to help people mitigate that as quick as possible. So if you've had a leak in the past and you didn't address it quickly enough, there could be something brewing. And when you're breathing in these toxins, it's affecting your gut barrier. Okay, so when Shivan and I talk about SIBO and gut infections, I'm now understanding that the mold exposure is a precursor to the bacterial dysbiosis. Said another way, mold seems to be one of the first dominoes that allows the immune system to be compromised enough for these bacteria to overgrow. In fact, there's some literature showing that mycotoxins increase pathogenic, aka bad bugs. And so if you fully want to heal your gut, you have to address mycotoxins. So if you've been to a naturopath, if you've been to functional medicine practitioner or doctor, someone like myself who's run labs on you and they haven't fixed you yet, this is likely a missing piece to the puzzle. And for years, clinically, I was working on parasites. I was known as the gut guy. I've done countless summits on parasites with other people, and that was my specialty. And then I got sick with mold. And then I go, oh crap, there's a whole thing that I didn't know about here. This is why people are treating their gut bugs and then they come back. And then they rotate herbs or drugs, and then the bugs come back. So I think mold was the missing link the whole time. I won't bore you with this, but 80 million people in the US are likely affected by mold. EPA estimates 50% of all homes, residential buildings have mold, 85% of commercial buildings. And a significant portion of the population has genetic defects, HLA-DR just being one of them, but there are other genetic SNPs, genetic defects, including MTHFR, COMT, and many others that can make or break your recovery if you don't do a proper protocol. We've got depression as a leading cause of disability. We've got anxiety on the rise. We've got people ending their life like you wouldn't believe. I think it's one person every 11 minutes ends their life. And I should have put a slide in here, but I did not. But Beth O'Hara, a colleague of mine, she was in the mold space with me. She ended her life within the last several months. And she was one of the only other practitioners that I had confidence in for addressing histamine intolerance, gut issues, mast cell activation, mold toxicity. And so I want to just say rest in peace to her, because this is no joke. This stuff is massive on your self-esteem, your self-confidence, and your desire to live. And I've talked about some of my dark stories after mold exposure, the crazy thoughts I had. Luckily, I was able to get out of that. But I just want to call that out, that this is a piece of why we're seeing a person every 11 minutes end their life. So if you know someone like that, or that has already done that, I hope that we can bring awareness to this, because this is not normal, these increases in the rates. Same with autism. 1 in 15 kids now on the spectrum, depending on what state you look at. I see children on the spectrum every single day in my practice. About half my practice is children. We have amazing results with kids. We've done podcasts on this topic of completely reversing it and taking nonverbal children that now say hundreds of words. So please know that if you have a child that's struggling, you have a child with PANS or PANDAS, these terms may be new to you, but these are behavioral issues linked to infections and mold toxicity. These things can be reversed, especially if we can catch it early. After puberty, teenage years, it's much harder for many reasons. So I lost a bunch of weight from mold. Some people, women, sorry ladies, you tend to gain weight. I don't know why, but there's some hormone slash functional medicine thing that we haven't fully figured out yet. It's probably related to these inflammatory cytokines. There's one paper I found here about it, how this is affecting what are called anorexigenic, think skinny hormones, or orexigenic, think fat hormones. And so we know that trichothecenes, that's black mold. So if you've seen major weight loss or weight gain, this is part of the reason. And I don't recommend Ozempic, by the way. Lucy, rest in peace, beautiful dog. She had a tumor that developed on her chest after mold exposure. So if you have a pet that's died from cancer or suffering, please pay attention to your pets. They can be the canary in the coal mine that indicates there's an issue in your environment. This is a paper on mycotoxins and autism. There's more papers that have come out since, but I've seen it and verified it clinically. There's some case reports in PubMed as well on completely reversing it by fixing mold toxicity. That should be the headline of the New York Times, but it's not. You could screenshot this if you want, take a picture with your phone. I'll hang out here for 10, 20 seconds. These are the signs and symptoms that I want you to look at. And if you have more than 3 of these symptoms, typically it's an indicator that there could be some underlying mold toxicity either stored in your body, possibly in the environment, and you may even be colonized, meaning you're growing the mold. So screenshot that, picture it, refer back to it, talk with your spouse about it. This is a very accurate list because we've used it for 1,000+ clients. And every time I look at the intake form, when I do a new patient intake, I'll look at their checklist. I'll see 20 symptoms checked. I'll go straight to their test. Boom, there it is. You probably already figured out mold causes depression. It causes chemical sensitivity too. So I had a couple females this week say, Evan, I've got this new onset reactivity. I used to love wearing perfume and now I'm so reactive to it. Well, number one, perfume is toxic. We know now that synthetic fragrances are driving early puberty in girls. So please don't let your young girls be exposed to fragrances that include your dryer sheets, your fabric softener, your laundry detergent, your deodorants, the makeups, the foundations, all the crap they put. Parfum, fragrance, that stuff is garbage. You got to get rid of it. But these fragrances are massively affecting your hormones. So number one, it's just toxic. But number two, if you're reactive to it and you're like, hey, I'm getting headaches, I'm getting dizzy when I smell Tide. I go to a Airbnb and they have Gain in there. They have plug-in air fresheners and it's killing me. The chemical sensitivity is one clue. And I had extreme chemical sensitivity at one point. Luckily, I'm much better now. But if you are reacting to off-gassing in a new home, you're reacting to gasoline or diesel, like a smoke from a car, if you're in traffic, if you are having food sensitivities, this can all be related. If you're having fertility issues, this is huge. I lost count. I'd say at least 50 women in the last decade who were supposedly infertile. They now have healthy babies as a result of detoxing. We know that all sorts of birth defects, sperm quality and quantity and motility issues, as well as miscarriage, is massively linked to mold. So if a woman is trying to get pregnant, my best recommendation is let's get some labs on her first. If you've already had a child and the child's suffering, then obviously we can fix that too. Candida. I love talking about Candida. It is a piece of the puzzle. It will cause brain fog. It will cause anxiety. It will cause sugar cravings. It'll make your butt itch. But the people who have the most Candida issues are the people that have mold. It's rare to see Candida by itself. I'll just brief mention about the virus, still floating around, still seeing new variants, still working on it. And it is just another wrench in the gears. It's just something else we have to address. And a fungal pneumonia, meaning if you're growing mold in your lungs, it can resemble this. And so we want to make sure that we don't ignore the potential for you to have fungus. They call it aspergilloma. It's like an aspergillus in your lungs. So some people get misdiagnosed because they have both of these at the same time. Sources of mold, it's buildings, it's your car. Mercedes did a recall on 2.5 million cars for mold growing in the HVAC. So if you've got a Mercedes, do a test. We'll talk about how to test it later. Grocery stores, foods, you can get mold on a lot of different foods, but primarily grains is why a lot of people feel so much better on a grain-free diet. And also, you can get it through your sinuses. So your sinuses can become colonized. And if you're having headaches, if you're having dizziness, tinnitus, that's ears ringing, it could be related. You can also get mold through the placenta. So your mother, let's say you're 50 listening to this, your mother could have given you mold through the placenta. And if you're breastfed, same thing. This is why I test grandmother, mother, daughter, granddaughter, and I see the mold go through the generations. So this is why I say look for mental and other illness in the family, because we'll see, okay, grandma was crazy, I'm crazy, daughter's crazy. What the heck's going on? Is that just genetics? No, you're probably just all toxic. A lot of times you'll end up with a glutathione deficiency. So we talk about this in Better Belly, my program. I teach you protocols, how to dose this stuff. Some people, they feel worse when they take glutathione. So maybe you have experience with that. We tend to try to boost glutathione by doing like grass-fed whey protein. If people can tolerate, if they have SIBO, they probably can't. But if they can tolerate Brussels sprouts, organic broccoli, we'll push them for a little bit of that. We'll do milk thistle. We'll do multis to help boost glutathione. You could do rubiose and honeybush tea. That helps increase glutathione. But this is a piece of the puzzle to get yourself better. Okay, so if you're listening to this, you're like, okay, I've had exposure. Where do I start? These are some of the things you can do. And obviously this gets geeky and there's multiple bullet points here. So I believe Shivan will have a replay for you guys to check it out. In regards to immune system function, we'll often try to bring in some of these tools here. Things like quercetin, colostrum to help balance out the immune system. And as we talked about earlier, mast cell activation, histamine intolerance, you have to try to stabilize those. I have a formula called histamine mast cell support that we use. It has ingredients like this in it. And then if you have Lyme or co-infections like Bartonella or Babesia, that can also make you much more sensitive to even the best supplements. Glucuronidation, you don't have to know everything about this, but what you need to know is that this process gets messed up when you have gut issues. And this is how you clear your hormones. This is how you clear toxins out of your body. And this gets screwed up if you have gut infections. Okay, so stay with me. When you test the GI map, what we look at is called beta glucuronidase right here. You see this 2892. So when this is high like this is telling us this person is not detoxing properly. They're going to have hormone symptoms. They're going to have all sorts of mood issues, likely chronic fatigue, anxiety as well, because they are not properly excreting. So we have to fix the gut to fix this, and then they can detox properly. So if you've tried doing a protocol before, it didn't go well, you did not look at this marker, it's important that we do. Now, to get mycotoxins out, it's pretty straightforward. A lot of these may be familiar to you, things like activated charcoal, zeolite clay, bentonite, silica, but it's all about the dosing. What can you handle? How often? What time of the day? And this can get a little tricky. And so I encourage people, seek the help of a practitioner like myself, or if you have someone else that's trained in mold. If you want one-on-one hand-holding, maybe you're not someone to take a self-guided course, then reach out, do a consult or two so we can get you straight. But it's important that you integrate several different things at once. It's likely that just charcoal is not going to be enough to fix you. Now, if you're having gut issues underneath that, it's probably something like mycotoxins. And I'm going to show you some case studies here in just a minute. What I'm going to do is teach you all protocols. It would take hours to break all this down, but eventually you'll be able to see something like this, a gut reset protocol, where I'll teach you what exactly you need for your liver, your adrenals, your gut. How do you dose binders properly? What time of the day? I give you all sorts of templates. Now, we talked earlier about the environment. So Petri dishes are a priceless tool. I think everyone watching should get some. You could get them for $3. We'll have some information on how you can get these, but $3 a pop. You could test your home, your car, your kid's school if they'll let you. And this is a very cost-effective, not perfect, but very good strategy to test. And as I wrote here, this is helpful for the mold skeptic. So typically it's the husbands. Oh, this guy on the internet talking about mold. Mold's everywhere. It's not a problem. Don't listen to him. For those people, you can do the Petri dishes and show them, hey, honey, there's a huge problem, and here it is. So let's dive into the case study. I'm going to bounce over to a folder that I prepared for you all. This is a 52-year-old male. He came to us with digestive problems. He had tongue pain. He had joint pain. He had memory issues. Now let's have some functional medicine fun. Check this out. This is what we have to figure out. This is your make it or break it for your health. Are you colonized for mold or not? This guy, off the charts. So this right here, 5-hydroxymethyl-2-feroic acid. This one down here, tartaric acid. This one right here, arabinose. This shows a major candida problem, a major aspergillus problem. So this guy had known mold exposure. He had no idea that he would continue to deal with mold even though he's out of that environment. He's carrying the mold around with him, meaning he is colonized. This is a bad case here. I don't like to see it. I'm glad he doesn't have more problems. He was actually a professor at a college, and somehow this guy's still a top educator. I'm like, wow, I'm surprised your brain is working good enough to do this. He did admit that he is struggling from massive brain fog, and I can see why. So this is what you have to get done if you haven't already. And it's important that we use antifungals in his gut and his nose to fix it. Now, he had Clostridia infection, so that'll drive the gut problems. Now, for you all with chronic fatigue, you're like, I'm so exhausted. All I can do is sit and scroll on Instagram or TikTok, and I feel lazy about it, and I don't know what to do about it. This is what that typically looks like on paper. It's mitochondrial damage caused by toxins. So the higher these numbers go, the more tired you get. So obviously, this is a brief overview today, but I have dozens of case studies and protocols in the program that we'll talk about in a minute. But if you want to learn how to read these, number one, you got to get the proper test. And then number two, you have to learn how to actually read these. So this here is mitochondrial dysfunction, and there's specific protocols to help reverse this. Now, if you're anxious, if you're overwhelmed, if you're more irritable than you want to be, this is a key marker we have to look at for you. It's called 5-hydroxyindolacetic acid. That's serotonin. Look at this guy here. It's too low. That's going to drive irritability, anxiety, worry, OCD. We see this every day, all day. Your average person has terrible brain chemistry, and this is just more evidence to show that. So if you're like, why is everybody crazy and why is everybody on SSRIs? Well, because they're trying to boost this, but it's not root cause, so it won't work. That's some ketone stuff. You don't need to worry about learning that right now. Nutrient levels, it's very important that we measure this in everyone. Make sure your nutrient levels are optimal so you can make adequate energy. Okay, so that's about it for his oat. Now let's keep rolling. I hope you're having fun. Here's a GI map. E. coli, H. pylori. Check out this page 3. It's messy. Look at that. Candida 100 times higher than high. That's crazy. These are exponential scales here. So see how it's an E5. E3 would be considered a problem. E4 is 10x, E5 is 100x. That is a lot of candida. And this is just a mess here. Look at the strep, Morganella, Klebsiella. This is the perfect picture, the perfect precursor for autoimmunity. Things like Hashimoto's is a perfect picture to create and cause that. His pancreas isn't working very good. So if your stool test, if we get this done on you and you look like this, I'll teach you about exactly what enzymes, acids, what doses you need to boost up your digestive function. Because remember, you're not what you eat. You're what you digest from what you eat. So all these people that come to me, they say, oh, I'm eating so clean, so healthy. Great. But if you're not digesting it because you have massive infections like this, I don't want to say you're wasting your money, but you're not going to fully get better if you can't digest your food. So we've got to fix this to enable you to do that. Now, here's the fun one, right? The myco. So these are mycotoxins. These are mold farts, okay? You breathe these in when you're in a water-damaged building. And as you can see here on page 2, it affects every body system. And this is why I'm beating the drum about this until I die, because this is the biggest thing I've ever found clinically. Look, I mean, it affects the reproductive system. We're talking infertility. We're talking low libido, erectile dysfunction, gut issues, kidney failure. It's a carcinogen. Guess what the most, let me geek out with you real quick. Guess what the most profitable drug is on this planet? Oncology. Oh, so we get cancer and then they just make bukus. Bukus. That's billions, folks. Look at this. In 2021, worldwide sales of prescription and over-the-counter drugs and billions in regards to the oncology, 176 billion, projected to be 320 billion in 2026. That's insane. So mold is a known carcinogen. You literally, if you think you're having financial issues, you literally can't afford to get cancer. It is the most expensive diagnosis you could ever have. And so, and I've seen people go through that journey and it's terrible. So I encourage you, we have to detox you now before that happens. Now, let's do another case here. Work with a lot of children. Here's a young boy, 4 years old. Now he's 6. We've done amazing. We've turned this kid's life around. Let me show you what his labs look like. More bacterial issues, lots of mold colonization. You see this trend here? Look at number 2. Look at number 4. You see that? I'll zoom in for you real quick. Look at that. Furan 2,5 dicarbolic acid, more mold colonization. This is why America is falling apart. Has nothing to do with politicians. It's mold, weakening everyone's immunity, crashing testosterone levels. In fact, in the last 20 years, the average testosterone level in a male has declined by 25%, meaning now guys my age have testosterone levels of men in their 80s. And I'm seeing a lot of infertility, major hormone issues, and even younger guys. And so it's pretty wacky. So here's the before and after of working on this guy. This is using protocols that I will teach you. You'll see here on the right, we've cleared all the mold colonization. The only thing that was left was number 13 there, 4-hydroxypuric acid. Yeah, a little bit of bacterial overgrowth here, but here's the deal. I mean, you're playing somewhat of a whack-a-mole game, meaning we can't really clear all the bugs at once. We did a hell of a job here. I'm super impressed with this. And now this kid is so functional that his teacher sent back reports saying, look, you've done something amazing. He was on the verge of getting kicked out of school, and now he is thriving. Okay, so what about your marriage? I've seen countless couples just in my small town here just fall apart. Now you see them sitting separate at church. It's like, okay, that's interesting. What happened there? So I see a lot of marriages fail because of these issues. And this is how I think it happens. You've got the wife suffering first. Just it's your all's hormones, unfortunately. You have less testosterone. So I think it's probably that. You just have less protective mechanism against the mold. So then the husband's like, oh, I'm fine, honey. And guess what? The husband's working outside of the house. So if the wife's getting exposed, she's home all the time. So she's breathing in 10 times more. So then they go get medical help. Conventional doctors blow it off. Neurologist doesn't know what to do. Maybe you end up spending $100,000 like some of my clients. They try to get better with conventional care. They spend $100,000 and then I do it for 100th of that price and get them better. Sex life disappears because hormones are down, and who wants to do that if you're in pain or you're anxious or you're just so exhausted? So then it's divorce. It's just an unhappy marriage. It's infertility. It's cancer, something like that. So the geeky version, I'll not bore you with, but if you want to look back at that, you can. So I think it can be saved because I've saved many, many, many marriages. I gave a talk to the doctors at Mosaic Lab about this. My talk was titled like Mold and Marriage Dysfunction. So I do believe it can be saved. And I think you have to decide, do you want to focus on this stuff? Do you want to dive in and look at your health a little deeper and do things you've never done before? Or do you want to just try to keep praying and hope that's going to get you out of it? I think prayer is great, but it's not going to clear these toxins out. So I really encourage you to jump on board with us with what I'm about to offer you, and let's have some fun together. Let's get you better, and let's do these protocols that we've done before, and let's take back your health, because unfortunately, no one is going to come knock on your door with this information to save you. You're not going to have a guy show up and hand you a bottle of charcoal at your front door. Unfortunately, you're going to have to just follow somebody like me and follow my lead and let me guide you to recovery from this stuff. So that's option one. It's continue what you've been doing. You guess, you check, you buy random supplements. You don't really get specific results because you don't have a specific protocol. Or you could say, okay, I'm ready. I want to join. I want to get these protocols. I want to fix my issues, and I want to follow somebody who's done it before. I want the Sherpa. I want the guide who's climbed the mountain before, and that's what we'll do. So I'll take a sip of water if Shivan wants to chime in at all. How you having fun so far?
I am having a blast. I am. I mean, Evan, you just every presentation we do like this, we do them a couple of times a year. He just gets better and better and really presenting this overview of the possibilities. So I'm super happy that you all are here. Evan truly knows his stuff, and he does have a course that actually shows you how to interpret these tests. And we got a ton of questions for you, Evan, and then also teaches you the protocols. We do have a ton of questions for you, my friend. So hi.
All right. Well, let's hit them in just a minute. How about we riff for a couple more minutes?
Let's riff, babe.
All right, cool. So yeah, and I have fun too, Shivan. I have fun trying to evolve and learn
It's working.
and think about the ways to connect the dots for people, because as you know, in regards to marketing purposes, it's very sexy to be able to just say like everything's thyroid, everything's this, everything's that. Like it's easy to sell books that way, but the reality is you have to address this full picture. This whole body system gets affected. And so we can't just go all in on hormones. We can't just go all in on the brain. We've got to really tie these pieces together. And I think that's what I've done really good at, because like I said, for years, I was the gut guy. I was the parasite guy, the bacteria guy. And now I was like, crap, I missed the boat. So what I'll teach you all is, how do you find your root causes? I'll teach you how to follow an effective protocol that gets you real results, and then you'll start feeling better. So it's pretty simple. This is Better Belly. That's a screenshot of the curriculum. You get to, I mean, it's fun. It's actually more fun than the training I had to get my credentials. I've made it way more fun. And I've had doctors say, like, dude, you're a great teacher. And they love the quizzes because I've put quizzes in there, not to just grill you, but just to keep you sharp and just so you can get these concepts. So I do have quizzes throughout. It's more fun than taking a real estate exam. So I think you would love it and you'd have the ability to learn about your body, things you've never been taught before. But then obviously brain candy is useless without an action plan. You get the action plans too. So that's what Better Belly Functional Medicine Training is. It's a roadmap. And I've shown you several case studies today. How do you test? How do you make protocols? That's what's in there. And you just get to click through. Some of these videos are shorter, some of them are longer, and I'll just run through all the different modules with you. IBS, Candida, HCl and enzymes. I've got an amazing testimonial, but I won't bore you with that. SIBO and SIFO, parasites, worms. What do you do after you clear the infections? How do you heal your gut after you kill the bugs? And then lots of case studies. It's pretty action packed. There's a little screenshot of some of the quizzes, and then you get printable templates. You could print out these protocols, slap it on your fridge, start these protocols right away. And then there are consults with me. That's a paid option if you need extra hand holding. But most people, if their brain is, let's say, half functional, they could probably get through this. If you're just completely like brain dead, I've been there. I'm not judging you at all. If you're like, hey, I'm too messed up to comprehend this stuff, just let us hold your hand through a couple consults. But if you're somewhat functional, you should be able to run through this relatively easy, maybe in a couple to a few weeks, and then start diving in and getting yourself better. Here's Sarah.
Yeah.
I do
Kind of
like
fast,
this.
Kevin. But you don't
Yeah,
have to do it in a few weeks. That's the other thing. Like if you want to do this
no.
starting in January, but you want to grab it now and then just pace yourself. All right.
Yeah, you have it forever. There's no expiration to this thing. So yeah, it's just you pay once and you're done. So if you're like, hey, I'm too stressed, I got Thanksgiving coming up, whatever, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It'll be here, but the sooner the better you get working on this stuff. So Sarah, this was cool. She said that she knew she would finally have the answers, and she did. The amount of pathogens was a huge mountain, but Evan had the confidence and the knowledge to gain my health back. As he says, test, don't guess with your health. So that's cool. Patricia, this was a lady who she was going to go get a functional medicine practitioner training, but then she's like, hey, I'm going to veer off and go figure out what Evan is doing because it's likely better than the more, let's just say, mainstream education. And she said here she was able to design protocols for her clients with confidence and understand why and what is in a protocol. So that's cool. And this is the cheapest price we've ever done. This is actually cheaper than we launched this 3 years ago, and I've added new content since, but $699 is the price only for Shivan. And
Thank you.
so that's cool. So you're saving over $1,000 for what you're getting. And these are kind of what the protocols look like. So you'll be able to download stuff like this, depending on your issues, you'll be able to piece this together. And then we're also giving you my Healthy Home course, which is where I teach you all about building materials, how to safely address any issue in your home, how to consider if you're doing new construction or renovation, how to consider the best, let's say, flooring options. Is carpet safe? What kind of bedding? All that's in there. And you get both of them for $699. And then I'll pause here and hang out, but this is another fun little thing here too that we're gonna add.
Okay, so let's talk about sexy time for a second. So I just put the link in the chat, and he's cut the price to $7.99, but then when you use coupon code Shivan, and I spell my name there, you get it for $6.99. And if you guys decide, and gals decide to order by 8 p.m. Eastern time tonight, if you're watching the recording, I'm so glad you did. It's still awesome. But if you're here live with us, then he's going to throw in the Sex Life Restoration Masterclass if you purchase by 8 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, and that's fun. I mean, like I said, this is my effort to save your marriage, save your sex life. If you have no sex life, then maybe you'll get it back, and maybe you'll say, Evan, who cares about sex? I'm too tired or this or that. Listen, libido is a side effect of health. Okay. This is not just about intercourse here. This is about you having your mojo. Having your mojo means when you go into a room, you're confident. When you get invited to a Christmas party, you're confident, right? If you don't have that sexual energy, that mojo, that's affecting how you put yourself out into the world. When you go try on clothes, let's say you go to the mall, if people still do that, and you try on a dress, I want you to feel sexy in that. And some of that is related to toxicity and how it affects your hormones and your brain chemistry. So please don't think this is some like sex education. Okay. I'm not teaching you how to do that. You probably figured
You
that out. This
figure
is
that
about,
out.
yeah, this is about the hormonal piece, the cognitive piece, the brain, the nutrient deficiencies, the issues that impact the blood flow. So we talk about erectile issues and natural ways to work on that. So this is just my way of helping you to restore that piece of your life. And I've had great feedback from it. Some of the protocols in there that'll teach you how to boost your libido for men and women have been life-changing. We've had great feedback on that. So that will be thrown in. You said 8 p.m.
By 8 p.m. Eastern
tonight.
time, if you decide to order by 8 p.m. Eastern time today, which is November 14th, 2024. So that is a limited time offer. If you're watching this on YouTube later, I'm glad you're here. You're still getting a killer deal because normally, I mean, Evan and I have done this for $9.99 before, and you didn't even get the option of having some of these extras, which includes right now $6.99. But you have to use coupon code Shivan because in the checkout process, it's going to say $7.99. Put in where it says coupon Shivan, SHIVAN. So you're getting the Better Belly functional medicine training, which he's been talking about, but you're also getting, and this is so important, the Healthy Home course that he has done. And that's actually how I first saw Evan. Like I saw him online before, like he even knew I was a human being and existed. And he was talking about construction materials and different ways to suss out and make sure that you had a healthy home in terms of construction and remodeling and that kind of thing. So he's really like literally been there from the ground up. And it was very insightful. And then I met him through a variety of summits. And I had him on a couple of my summits. Would love to have him on all of my summits. He's a busy guy. So let's get some questions. And remember, use coupon code Shivan. I just put that in the chat. Please don't put the questions in the chat and the Q&A box because it overloads me. And so I see your questions and I'm going to the Q&A box exclusively. One question is there a discount on the oat test? And the answer I'm going to say for Evan is no, because he doesn't own the labs, right? So if he could, he probably would. But how do you want to, how would people get an oat test to even be able to do this?
Yeah, it's easy. I mean, if they take the course, there's a question box inside of the course. You could just hit, hey, I'm ready for testing. And my staff will give you the updated lab pricing. The labs, they've changed the price a little bit in the last few years, but relatively stable. So no, the price is the price on that, and it's not included in the course. The course that's just the course. I mean, I took even one semester a decade ago in college was like 12 grand, and you're going to learn an insane amount to change your entire life for less than $1,000. It's pretty mind blowing.
Okay. And then would we have access as a practitioner to the lab testing when finishing the course? Yes. Yes. Okay. What root causes for SIBO and SIFO can we see in the oat tests? But what do you think? What is
so on page 1, when you look at that, it's 1 through 18, you see yeast, you see fungal, and you see bacterial markers. So page 1 on the oats, where we're going to be really studying for the specific gut issues.
And if I'm doing the oat test, but I have to travel to pick, okay, this is a technical question. I'm doing the oat test, but I have to travel to pick up the kit. Can I put a sample in a regular urine cup? And as soon as I pick up the kit, pass it to the sample cup you provide? I ask since I know the sample has to be first urine of the day.
I don't know. Email my office@evanbrand.com. We'll help you with the logistics. Typically, we need a sterilized cup, so there's no cross-contamination. So, yeah, but email office@evanbrand.com. We'll check with the lab on that. But, yeah, it should be a non-issue. We've done thousands around the world, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, South Africa, Kenya, you name it. People have tested everywhere, so it should be a non-issue.
Okay, which test is accurate for mycotoxin test, urine or blood test?
Blood is okay. I like urine better. We've run both, and urine seems to be pretty good.
Okay. Could you please repeat where you got the stats about how many residential and commercial buildings have water damage? Hey, Wendy.
Environmental Protection Agency, the good old EPA.
PA, baby. All right. Why does it seem that there's a huge connection with IMO, specifically that type of SIBO and mold? It impacts your migrating motor complex.
Well, I mean, let's think about it, right? Mold affects gut bacteria. Gut bacteria affect neurotransmitters. Serotonin is a key neurotransmitter in motility. So I think that's the answer you're looking for.
Does your course provide CME or continuing ed?
Yeah, it does actually. And I think we
Oh,
have that on the sales page. So that would be for, and my staff can help you too if you need like us. So you do get a certificate at the end. You do get a certificate of completion. And so I know through the National Association of Nutrition Professionals, we are considered a continuing education provider there. And also the FDN, if you're an existing FDN, you're going to get, I believe it's 12, maybe 13 credits. So yeah, we've tried to work with some of these professional groups because they need to know this stuff. But yeah, just
awesome.
reach out if you have trouble with that.
And you know what? We have a CME class for SIBO, and there's those organizations that are wanting your continuing education. A lot of them are extremely specific, so it's impossible to get like that for everybody. But definitely check into it. Okay. And even if you can't get the CMA, the CE, it's so worth it. Jim, I took the gut Zoomer test and had high marks in my gut permeability, high in all inflammatory markers, low in many good bacteria, but not showing any signs of bad bacteria. No gut pathogens, no parasites. I also took an IgE food allergy profile showing moderate to low sensitivity to wheat, peanut, soybean, clam, shrimp, walnut, corn, sesame seed. I'm doing my best to eliminate the foods that I have an abnormal effect. I'm not sure how to go forward from here. Jim, you should get this course and, forge a path.
Yeah, I think you should just look through the full functional medicine workup. I mean, a gut Zoomer is not enough. You need an organic acids test. So I haven't heard you talk about that. You need to get that missing piece.
How can you address mycotoxins if you can't leave home? Naveed, I'm so sorry. And Angelina, I know you have to go. Thank you for being here.
Hey, thanks for being here. It's tricky, it's always rate of exposure versus rate of detox. So we try to help people where we can, even if they're stuck in there. At least we can tread water so you don't collapse.
Okay. Mirella, how different is the GI map test from the OAT test?
Totally different. Yeah, way different. I mean, oat does give you some information about bacteria, yeast, fungal, but the stools where you look at intestinal bleeding, gut inflammation, enzyme function, parasites, worms, H. pylori, you can't replace. They're both important.
So one's a stool test and one is the metabolites from your urine. So
that's right.
Yeah. iPhone Sally, hey, you don't mention oxalates on the OAT test. Mine was high. So does the course cover that?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, this is just a short webinar. There's 75 markers on the OAT. It would take me 2 hours to do the whole thing. But yeah, that's number 21 on the OAT test. We look at oxalates all the time. Oxalates are typically elevated due to mold. So yeah, we do cover that.
Jay Foley, I've done testing. Will the course explain what order to address things? I have candida, leaky gut, mold toxicity, and IMO. Thanks.
Yeah, you'll see protocols, exactly what to do. What I recommend is phase 1, phase 2. We run through all that.
And Christopher, when you see in the GI map overgrowths of different strep, fusobacterium, and it says demons, usually problematic in the throat, what root cause would you try to dig deeper?
Well, get the OAT test. Can't just base everything on the GI map. I'd like to look at the OAT, see what's happening there. If there's a fungal infection, we're probably gonna battle resistant strep.
Is there a certain age when you're too old to deal with these issues?
Yes, when you're dead.
There you go. Jim, if I would like to test the inside of my HVAC for mold, would it be good to start with a Petri dish?
You could. The lab also has some swabs you can do. So reach out to my office if you need help. We can get you a swab kit.
Okay. I've been diagnosed with mold. Are mycotoxins responsible for foot neuropathy that I also have?
It could be, but that's often related to Bartonella. So I'd like to know, where did you grow up? Did you have mosquito bites? Did you have tick bites? Because you might have Bartonella. That's another test we didn't talk about today. It's covered in the course. But yeah, neuropathy is typically misdiagnosed. A lot of times it's an infection and or mold. But yeah, mold does affect nitric oxide production, which is why you can have neuropathy and erectile dysfunction at the same time.
Kim is saying, how do I get a hard copy of the course? I don't think it exists. You can print it out if you wanted to, but this is a digital world right now. Okay. Okay, Rose, I'm going to break my own rule, and because everybody needs to be putting their questions in the Q&A box, but I need to really address this because it's kind of an emergency. Rose, IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, is primarily caused by SIBO, small intestine bacterial overgrowth. Dr. Mark Pimentel at Cedars-Sinai has proven that, validated it, and gone to conferences all over the world and talked about it. So don't let anyone tell you that IBS is impossible to treat, because there are other reasons why you also might have IBS. You need to find out what's causing it. It could be mold, it could be Lyme, it could be Bartonella, it could be so many things. It could be that you have a long intestine and it's tortuous, meaning that it's twisted and longer than other people or for your body. So there's so many reasons. It's a diagnosis of exclusion when you have IBS. Sorry, Evan, I'm on my soapbox.
No, come on, let's hear it.
Which just means that you don't have colitis, you don't have Crohn's, you don't have other things that people can test for, which is actually good because you don't want those things. But IBS is a diagnosis of exclusion. You need to find out what's causing that. And in the meanwhile, get my book, Healing SIBO, because that also talks a lot about it. And get Evan's course, because he's going to teach you how to look at that stool test, look at your oat test, and find some other underlying causes.
Yeah, look right here. In module 2, it's all about IBS. Keep in mind, IBS was my diagnosis over a decade ago.
Mine too.
And I don't have IBS anymore.
What labs are you using at approximate cost?
So typically we use Mosaic. We also talk about Vibrant. We talk about DNA Connections. We talk about Diagnostic Solutions. We talk about 5 to 6 different lab companies, depending on location, logistics, budget, etc. I'd budget for around $1,000 to $1,500 to get a great workup done.
Do you have a protocol how to remediate mold in your home? That's that Healthy Home course. We use mold company that tests air quality in some swabs. Results showed just aspergillus overgrowth. Do we remediate before we waterproof?
Check out the Healthy Home course. I cover all that.
Yeah. Would we have access as priority? Did that one. In your opinion, even if you have to guess, dyssynergia can be caused by emo or the other way around?
Dyssynergia. I need to look that term up.
I'm not, and I may have mispronounced it.
Disturbance of muscular coordination.
It can give you, like, it's related to SIBO.
Oh, okay. It says here that it's often a feature of cerebellar disease. So I know mold affects the cerebellum. I don't know if that's what you're referring to, but it also talks about faulty toilet habits, painful defecation. So
it could be pelvic floor issues.
Yeah.
That whole coordination of the pelvic floor. So sometimes PT, pelvic floor physical therapy, can help for both men and women.
Yeah, I can't say detoxing mold's going to fix your pelvic floor. I know that much.
Yeah. Kim, I have Crohn's disease. Is this the best starting course for me? An ileostomy.
So in module 2 of the course, we do have a specific Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, and autoimmune gut issue. I mean, it's almost a full webinar itself, so I would check that out. Depending on the severity of your condition, you may need a consult or two to make sure everything's dialed in. But if you feel confident and you're willing to learn and look at some of these other cases and protocols we've done, then that's cool. I trust your gut on how you want to proceed there.
Okay. Where do I receive supplements from if I live in Europe? Do they come from your brand in the US, or have you a dispensary in Europe? I'm asking because I have a debilitated chronic fatigue that lasted for years, so I know my healing journey will be long. So I would like to avoid repetitive international shipping fees, taxes, and duties.
So complex question, because I don't even know what your protocol would be. If you're super ill, you may have amazing success with some of these protocols. We do have international distributors for the supplements as well. So some things we do source from the UK in those cases. Sometimes it's from the US. Some of it's professional brand that I formulated. Some of it's other professional brands. So I know it's kind of a non-answer, but I would just have to see what all you need and what do you want to get involved with, and then we can help from there.
And I just want to share my screen for a second.
Yeah, please.
Grab it for a second. So this is what, when you click that link, this is what it looks like. It's held in Teachable, which is a really nice platform for learning. The other thing is that Evan updates the course periodically, which is really, really important. I don't think he's going to be doing it every week because he's already dialed it in and really refined the course so much. But I only know of 2 other people that update their courses. We're one of them over at SIBO SOS. and Evan and one other person who I also adore. So it's not common. A lot of times digital courses are set it and forget it by the practitioner, and sometimes that's totally fine. But things evolve, things change, things, thank goodness, are continuing to evolve. And so he does update it. So I just wanted to show you that. You can click on it and you can see so much more information right there. Okay. And Laura, you're welcome for this webinar. Glad you were able to make it. We are running out of time. We have 2 more questions, then we're going to wrap. Good, Edya. You know all the tests. That's awesome. Glad you're here. How long are your consults if people do want to do a consult? You know what? Reach out to office@evanbrand.com and they will, they'll deal with, that's what they do. They will take care of you. How many courses are in the program? Well, oh, I'm so glad you asked. So we have the Better Belly course. We have the Better Home course, Healthy Home course. If you order by 8 tonight, you're getting what I nicknamed the Sexy Time course. And then the other thing is the IBS and SIBO Summit. I forgot to mention this. When you order, even if it's tomorrow or the next day, the Better Belly, and you're getting the Healthy Home, that's another savings. It's huge. I created the IBS and SIBO Summit, and we are throwing that in, and Evan's team has that link. So they would be sending it to you for when you make the purchase, like not instantly, you'll get it a little bit later, but that's really cool. So it's just a ton of high quality content that is going to help you navigate these complicated waters. Is there training on mast cell activation?
Yeah, there is a histamine intolerance section. We have case studies about that as well. Histamine intolerance, mast cell activation, they go hand in hand.
Are you able to get just the protocols without the course? No, because this is the professional as well as the patient training. So I'm glad you have the background and all of that, but this is the way the course is set up. I'm going to let everybody who's asking about a consult deal with that with his office@evanbrand.com. And, Sarah, what country are you in? Because it's not 873,000. It's in US dollars. So I don't know what.
Yeah, she may. So, I mean, based on that O in her name, she's got, I forget, it's like, I don't know. She's probably in Europe, and that's like a conversion thing. So I think it might be converting it to euros or pounds or something like that. Right. So, and that's Teachable does it automatically. It'll convert the currency. Yeah, she's in Sweden.
The price is in US dollars.
Oh, so international, there's like international duties that your country likely charges you. So Europe has done that, just like they charge Swedish people the duties when they import supplements. Same thing. There's basically duties on US based courses is what I've learned. So you could still try to do the coupon, but I don't think we're able to, to do anything about those international fees. I looked into it. I had my staff look into it a year ago, and it's the European government doing that.
All right. See if you have a friend in the States who can buy it for you. Okay. Let's see. Last and not least, here we go. Ooh. All right. How many days to get the course? Well, you can get it anytime, but the special price and these extra bonuses are just for 7 days. So you just have a week. But if you want this sex class, definitely order by 8 p.m. tonight. Otherwise, you're still getting all of those other goodies. And that's a 7-day window. Sorry that Sarah, I definitely would try to find someone. I see it says the tax. Okay. So Sarah, grab a friend in the US and have them order it for you. Okay. I think that's it. Thank you all so much. Please put some love into the chat for Evan. Evan, you are a genius and a scholar, and I love your heart and your soul and your intentions. They're so pure. And, there have been times when I just didn't know what to do with a specific situation about my health or my husband's health. And I have learned so much from Evan myself and have referred a ton of people to him, and I've had a lot of people go through this course and then write me and thank me for introducing them to Evan's work and these courses, because they really, really have been helpful in changing people's lives for the better. And that's the whole point. That is the whole point. So thank you, Evan.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you, Kim. Appreciate the words. Joy. Who else? Becky, Sarah, thank you, thank you, thank you. Laura, no problem. Anne, thank you. Debbie, Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I hope you guys take advantage of this. I mean, the new iPhone costs more money than this, and the new iPhone's not going to change your life like this. So if you want more energy, you want better brain function, you want to be a good spouse, you want to be a good parent, a good grandparent. I mean, look, the world's not going to get any easier. Chronic fatigue is huge. I actually polled my Instagram audience, Shivan, last thing. I polled my Instagram
Yeah,
audience. I hope people join me there. I've got, I don't know, 53,000 people on the Instagram page. I try to
awesome.
post videos at least every day or every other day about these topics, and that's all free, of course. But I polled my audience. 96% said they struggle with chronic fatigue. And one of the biggest drivers of that is mold and gut issues. So please, 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 if you want to be your best, if you want to ride your bike at high speed like I did today, and you want to have that oomph to do it, and then hit the gym, and then take care of your kids or your grandkids, and then put all the groceries away, and then declutter your pantry, and then make your bed, you got to have optimal mitochondria, optimal brain chemistry, optimal nutrients. And look, these issues, like I said, are not rare at all. The average person who's doing great, eating organic, doing all the things, they still come up short. I've tested health influencers on social media, people that I won't call out, that have millions of followers. They have six-pack abs. They look amazing, but when we look at their labs, even they have issues. So please, please, please join this thing. This is literally cheaper than when I first launched this. And with inflation, we should double the price of this thing. But instead, we're discounting it more than even the launch price when things were cheaper. So please take advantage of this. I'd love to have you guys in there.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, everybody. I will send out the replay tonight, and we will catch you next time. Many blessings. Thanks, Evan.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.